Does thinking about money make your stomach tie in knots? Well, you are not alone. Financial stress and anxiety affect millions of people, and it's not just about the numbers, it's about the mindset. Today, we're diving into how your thoughts about money can either hold you back or help you take control. If you're struggling with debt, feeling overwhelmed by multiple payments, or are unsure which strategy will actually work, we'll break down practical, actionable methods from the Snowball to the Avalanche so you can start making progress without losing your sanity. Welcome to part 2 of Mastering Your Money. Today, we're breaking down credit, debt, and budgeting basics. By the end, you'll understand the foundations to take control of your financial life. I'm thrilled to welcome back my guest today, Tina Filion. Tina works with Canada's Credit Counselling Society, a nonprofit organization committed to helping Canadians regain financial stability through education, practical tools, and one-on-one support. Episode 1 talked a little bit about budgeting. Today, we're going to shift gears. And Tina, I'm so excited to have you back on today's episode. Welcome.
Thank you.
If you haven't listened to part 1, please go listen to episode 1 of this 3-part series because I was very intentional in planning this so we can go on the journey together. But today we're going to talk a little bit about money mindset and behavioral patterns. When we think about money and behavioral patterns, why do so many of us feel anxious or overwhelmed when we think about money?
Honestly, money is highly psychological, and it's not just numbers. It represents our sense of security and safety. It's essentially one of our main needs is that it's fulfilling is survival. And many of us even carry childhood beliefs or past experiences that show up as anxiety too. And additionally, we may not even have been taught about money growing up from our household or even school. And having tools and knowledge can make all the difference when we know where to turn and we have a plan.
So how do common fears about money hold people back from making that progress?
In general, fear can create avoidance, and avoidance can keep us stuck. It can even compound issues because we're so scared, or maybe we're feeling guilty or ashamed. We might not think we even have options. We might not know what to do. But when we face the numbers and reach out for guidance if we need it, we take back our own power and control, and we can break that cycle.
What are some mindset shifts that can really help improve financial decision making?
One of the things we can do is to shift from the idea that I'm bad with money to instead, actually, I'm learning new skills. Every single one of us has made mistakes. Honestly, every single one of us, and every single one of us will likely be dealing with debt at some point throughout our life journey. It comes for us all. So if you're taking action steps and expanding your knowledge, celebrate yourself and all those hard-won lessons.
I'm also going to add, it's not something you really converse with or have conversations around with your friends. You know, you're not asking, hey, have you checked your credit report lately? And what's your credit score? Like, it's such a taboo topic to talk about, I feel like amongst friends or your social circle. So you're kind of trying to navigate it on your own. And as you had mentioned, if finances weren't talked about in your family, you're very limited on the exposure you've had going into adulthood. So how does financial confidence develop over time, and what small habits can reinforce it?
Confidence comes from small wins. It doesn't have to be just the big stuff. We tend to pay attention to the big stuff, but every day you're making impactful decisions, paying one bill on time, saving $10, maybe sticking to your plan for a week, achieving all those small objectives one at a time. That's what builds confidence. It's brick by brick building your confidence, and setting small realistic goals will help build them over time as you keep racking up those victories.
That will really help with your confidence. I would suggest to the listeners, if you're listening right now, I want you to think about one belief about money that you are kind of having that aha moment going, I need to change that. Now that Mandeep and Tina are talking about this is something that obviously I'm interested in. That's why I'm listening to part 2 of this episode. But this is something that I need to now reflect, whether it be a purchasing pattern or whether it be just not even looking at your budget or your finances. This is your sign that you need to take action. Let's talk a little bit about strategy and debt repayment strategies. I know I've heard of the Snowball versus Avalanche method. What's the difference, and how do you know which method will work for you?
Yeah, I'll start first by explaining what each of those are. So Snowball is basically you're targeting building motivation by tackling the smallest balance first. You're knocking those out real quick. So you aggressively pay off the smallest balance debt first, and you're paying minimum payments on the rest of them until it's eliminated. Then you move to the next. And that gives you that boost by having one bill to cross off the list quickly. And then Avalanche saves the most interest by hitting the highest interest rate debt first. You focus again your payments most aggressively on the highest interest debt first to eliminate it. Then you make minimum payments for the rest at the same time. And really, between those two, the best method is the one that you're going to stick with. And honestly, you're the best person to know what will keep you engaged with your goal, keep you motivated, because motivation is that key factor.
How should somebody handle multiple debts from different creditors?
I'd say first is getting an idea of what you're dealing with. So list everything out and choose your strategy, whether it's Snowball or Avalanche. You can automate those minimum payments and focus your extra dollars on one target at a time. And structure can create that momentum, but sometimes maybe we might need to turn to maybe a consolidation loan or other resources to help manage debts. So for example, speaking with a nonprofit credit counselor, they would be able to give you different strategy points as well.
I've heard of that debt consolidation loan, and can you just give us a couple of lines on what a debt consolidation loan is?
Consolidation can help if it lowers your interest rate and simplifies your payments, and it doesn't require taking on new debt. So basically, this loan is going to take all of your debts and put them all under this one loan, and you're making that one payment for all of those debts. So that might simplify things, but just keeping in mind that you want to understand the fine print and avoid options with high fees. For example, read everything and unrealistic promises. Watch out for those. Sometimes we might be tempted to grab the first lifeline we see, but it can get us stuck deeper, and we really want to avoid that if we can.
Talking about debt consolidation, but to take it to a different level, speaking to somebody at your team, I think would be very wise and helpful. If you're listening right now and you have some sort of debt, consider your own debt and which strategy would make it feel more manageable. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about credit repair and responsible credit use. What factors affect a credit score, and why does it matter in everyday life?
This is the tricky part for sure. The biggest part of your credit score is your payment history, which accounts for about 35% of the score. So that's basically like, have you been paying on time? How long? All of that. 30% is your total amount owed. So outstanding balances. Are you carrying a high debt load? Then that's going to potentially harm your score. If you're carrying a reasonable debt load, that's going to enhance your score. And also the other factor, 15% of the score, is how long you've had credit. The types of credit you have is also at 10%. And then another 10% is any new credit. And even if you don't want to use credit, I know some people might shy away from it, thinking like, I don't want to fall into the debt traps. Definitely, I understand that. But definitely I suggest that even if you just have, for example, a really low limit credit card and you just spend $5 a month on that card and pay off the balance each month, that will build your score. Because sometimes they'll close off all their accounts, and it's possible after a period of time for the entire history, your entire credit history, to be purged, and you end up with no credit score, which can be harmful because credit scores can be requirements for essentials in our everyday life, like securing a rental or housing. Some job industries require it, or even being able to buy a car.
Even to be able to get a cell phone plan. I'm pretty sure they run a credit check on you. It's interesting. My son's just turning 19, and one of the first things I told him is you need to open up a credit card. But we talked about how credit works. Always ensure that whatever you're putting on that credit card, you have the ability to pay, and timing it. So if you know your credit card is due, say on the 24th of every month, I like to always pay my credit card off 7 days in advance, because I know sometimes it takes 2 to 3 business days. It's been instilled in me. Somebody along the way in my life told me, whatever you do is try to pay your credit card on time, and even missing it by a day can hurt your credit score. And things like getting a mortgage, all those play a factor in having good credit. How can someone repair damaged credit and build long-term sustainability?
The biggest thing is to pay on time and lower your balances gradually. Keep your older accounts open if you can. Credit repair is really credit rebuilding, and it happens step by step. Can feel painfully slow, but there's no company or business who can build it instantly for you. There are ads out there about that. These things really do take time. There's no business that can actually do that for you. You don't need to pay anyone to build your credit. If you consistently do those steps, it's going to happen. And usually it takes 12 to 18 months to see the bigger changes. And one of the things you can use, for example, if your credit has been damaged and you're trying to build up again, look into a secured credit card. It can be a good way to get started. And then just making sure that you're making those payments on time and just those small purchases and paying them off once they hit your statement, that will progressively build your credit over time. And another thing, remember as well to file disputes to correct any incorrect information on your credit report as well, because sometimes that can happen. And check your credit report at least twice a year. You are entitled to one free copy of your credit report, one with TransUnion and one with Equifax. Check them, and if there are any errors, you can have those fixed by filing a formal dispute. And as well, this is often one of the ways people discover that there's actually been fraud in their name. So it's generally a really good idea to keep track of that.
I was just going to add to that. I think on a website, an airline website was compromised. And so I have access to a monthly report now to check my credit. And I take a look to see who's been trying to open up a credit card in my name, because that's where that investigation can happen, because fraud, unfortunately, is a reality in this day and age. And so one actionable tip, if you're listening to today, go check your credit. Go in and log in. I believe Tina said you get one free per year, and that's with Equifax or TransUnion. Is that correct?
Exactly. And be sure to check. Sometimes they try to sell you their subscription or their paid one. I promise you there is a free version. They just bury it behind that paywall. Sometimes if you just access their chat and you just ask representative, say representative as much as you want until they give you a representative, and then you can ask them for a copy of your free yearly report, and they'll send you a link to that you can link to if you're having a hard time finding it.
That's a great tip, because it's free, and sometimes we think, oh, I don't want to pay $25 to check my credit. But you then can look at your credit report and set a prompt a year from now in your calendar. And if you have a debt repayment strategy, you can then revisit that credit report a year from now to see how your overall credit has improved. Now, let's talk a little bit about long-term financial stability and planning. We talked a little bit about it in the first episode, but what is an emergency fund, and why is it essential for somebody to have an emergency fund?
Basically, for peace of mind and stability, that's what it represents for us. It's the difference between something being an inconvenience and becoming more of a crisis for us. So even a few $100s can change the way you sleep at night, which is very important for our mental health. I don't know if anyone's ever dealt with insomnia, but everything is just the worst. So if you have even that to help you as a safety net, it can really help. For a short-term goal, we recommend $1,000, and long-term 3 to 6 months worth of expenses is generally what we recommend, because in terms of when we've had more of a significant crisis, maybe we've gotten sick, maybe we've had hours cut, it's really good to have that cushion of 3 to 6 months worth of expenses. We're feeling a little less stressed there, and we have that safety net.
What is one key action listeners can take today to move towards some sort of financial freedom?
One of my favorites is to pick one financial priority and automate it. Automation can turn good intentions into results. I find that's something that drastically helped my savings goals, because it's gone before I even get the chance to even be tempted to use it. So that's helped me quite a bit.
I think I had that with a company I worked for. They automatically took out, I think back then I was like 18, 19 years old, but took a 30% of my check and put it into a GIC every month. But there are automation tools out there that you can tie in and work with your bank to have removal of a part of your paycheck towards going towards a bigger long-term goal, whether it be buying a home, retirement, or even just building security. Identify one small step that you can take now. Closing and kind of key takeaways, financial stress doesn't have to take control of your life. Small mindset shifts, strategic planning, and actionable steps can help anyone regain confidence and stability. Today, we explored how mindset impacts money, strategies for debt repayment, and credit repair. Part 3, we will focus on saving, long-term planning, and teaching money skills to the next generation. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure you subscribe and continue the conversation over on Instagram or TikTok at Her Energy Unlocked Podcast. I cannot wait to hear from you. Remember, your energy is yours to reclaim, your story is yours to rewrite, and your next chapter is waiting. I will see you in the next episode, which is part 3 of Mastering Your Money series. Bye for now.